Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today. I really enjoyed the previous match that I cast with this bot. It is Phantombot, a Zerg bot. And taking on Phantombot is a bit of a pushing wonder. It's Zozo, the bot that makes a bunch of stalkers and attacks, if I recall correctly anyway. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are the best at it. Make sure to go ahead and click that like button. Just give it a little slap. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I post these videos pretty regularly. Join the Discord, which is linked down below. And leave a comment saying more bots, or let me know what video game you've played the longest is. I feel for like a lot of us it's probably Starcraft 2. I think about this because I've been playing like the same Flash, I don't know if it's an MMO or whatever, for like, oh gosh, at least like probably about 15 years at this point. And so it's interesting when you've played a game for so long. Now let's take a look here. We have got Phantombot opening up with a hatchery on the low ground, spawning pool, normal Zerg opening, and Zozo is going for a double gate nexus or double gate into Cybercore. We'll probably see an expansion at some point, I imagine. These Protoss bots, they do generally go for the double gateway opening. I'm not sure what the exact reason for that is, just it's difficult to safely expand as Protoss off of one gate, I guess. Zozo then going for a battery on the high ground, going to be extra safe. I'm a big fan of that. And then Phantombot just doing its thing. In the previous game, we saw Phantombot play a pretty cool style, getting maxed out, and so we know that it's got some late game chops. So if I had to guess, it's going to be on the receiving end of potential aggression here by Zozo, and that's a good test, I'd say. And so we'll see how well Phantombot does here today. Zozo is a bot that does tend to go for fairly simple stalker pushes. Just keep producing them, keep attacking, that kind of thing. And it does do pretty well. Third hatchery is on the way for Phantombot. More lings, more... We're getting out ling speed. Not mining any more gas, but yeah, Phantombot does seem to be a bot that makes just a couple of lings, then gets out its drones. Okay, a robo facility is on the way for Zozo now. Battery at the natural is established as well, that's important. Seeing as how these lings are coming on in, trying to grab that stalker. Probes are pulled to help out their friend, but it's an easy defense for those handful of stalkers. I am a little bit concerned for Zozo though, just because it is a stalker-based bot. And stalkers are notoriously bad against lings. And we're going to see if Phantombot just keeps on making those lings. It is actually attacking on in once again with them. So Phantombot testing the waters. No success there, though. Seeing as how a battery and some stalkers and probes can deal with a handful of lings. The ling count is growing, though. And this is one of the interesting things about Phantombot. It seems to be a little bit middle of the road, a little bit of attacks, but then also macroing up, which does make for an exciting bot to watch. Probes once again are being pulled to fight these lings. The battery, though, healing up the stalkers. Nothing's gonna die. Just a bunch of Zerglings dying, and this is a little concerning for Phantombot. If it keeps throwing away units when Zozo does eventually decide to attack, it could be in trouble. We do have Zozo getting up a forge behind this. Phantombot does have a lot more lings out, and it will find these stalkers in the middle of the map. We'll see how well the micro is going to be, because this prism can save the injured stalkers. That's exactly what we're seeing. These stalkers are potentially being pushed all the way home. No real damage getting dealt on any of them just yet, so great micro by Zozo. Phantombot commits to try and deal with these stalkers, but has zero success. It's now got a roach warren done, so it can potentially make roaches. It's up to 4 hatcheries, so it can make a lot of lings with all this larva that it's got. The lings do keep engaging these stalkers. The prism is doing a pretty good job juggling them. Some of them are in the red now, but still 0 losses. Or pardon me, I guess 1 probe died somewhere along the way for this Protoss bot. Looks like we will see 1 stalker go down, probably a couple more dying here soon. Zozo is still making more stalkers, getting out an immortal now though. Can just lings beat all these stalkers in a prism? That's what Phantombot is trying to find out. It does have pretty good army supply still, 36 lings against 11 stalkers. It's making more and more of these lings, gonna get on top of these stalkers, and Zozo didn't have all its units here. It's got an immortal, but that's staying back at home. And while I know immortals aren't good against lings, they are okay sponges for damage. So yeah, Phantombot seems to be playing the perfect composition to deal with a mass stalker bot. Zozo microing that stalker, unloading it. It's just interesting. I do wonder if Zozo would benefit potentially from like a slight tweak, in that if it is up against mass lings, it starts making adepts or zealots instead. I don't think that would be too hard to program in. Then again, it's always the question of what do you dedicate yourself to as a bot author? Where do you commit your resources? Great ling wraparound here on the stalkers. They're not having a lot of success with killing these lings fast enough. Looks like +1 is on the way. That will help the Protoss units deal some more damage. At the same time though, Phantombot is up to 5 bases. It's squeezing out a couple more drones here and there, so the economy is growing for both these bots, as there is a third base done for Zozo, a 4th base on the way. So they're both kind of just making more and more stuff as this game goes on, ramping up production, constantly trading out. So far though, Phantombot does seem to be doing well enough, as the ling count is up to 40 now. There's only a handful of stalkers left. The immortals can be juggled in the prism, but like these Protoss units, they're not killing enough Zerglings here. And all the micro in the world doesn't make stalkers good against Zerglings, really. So this is a bit concerning for Zozo. It does have the battery to fall back to. We'll see if there's going to be a battery overcharge. We didn't see one earlier, so I imagine we're not going to see one now. So probes are fighting the lings. Funnily enough, I think the probes are better against the lings than the stalkers. So as soon as Zozo's on the defensive, it does take a pretty good trade. 187 lings have died this game. What a number. The army count for Zozo isn't very big. It's now going to be going up against Hydras, as Phantombot is really starting to run away now, as it's up to 6 bases, or getting up a 6 base, making Hydras at 76 workers. Zozo's not on a terrible economy itself. I'm a little bit concerned though, because Hydras are pretty darn good against Stalkers and Immortals. So what's the Hydra count right now? 4. There's more on the way. As long as Phantombot doesn't just trickle into this Protoss army, I think it should be fine. The Hydras do put out a lot of damage. They do not have grooved spines yet though, so the lack of range really does cripple them a little bit. It's kind of like a Marine without combat shield, in the sense that it's just a little bit worse. Now, a couple Hydras are out, but once again, this is not as many as Phantombot needs. It really is just trickling in to defend here, making 10 Hydras at a time. However, it's down on army supply, and if it keeps just trading out units against shields of this Protoss army, it will die. So Phantombot had a lot of success early on, but it overcommitted a little bit with that last fight. Hydras are putting out all the damage they can. Groove Spines is done. I mean, that still doesn't make 3 Hydras fight all these Stalkers any better, though. Now there's the high ground, which is helping out a little bit for Phantombot. If we look at Zozo's vision, it does actually have reduced vision up that hill. Now, the hatchery goes down. Broodling's going to pull some of these Stalkers back. Can Phantombot reach the critical mass it needs to hold on here? It's close. It's pumping out as many Hydras. It's like a machine working, trying to Just muster up as much of an army as possible. A lot of the Stalkers are in the red. It's just a handful of units against a handful of units as Zozo has got a few more units walking across the map. The Stalkers are also red, and once Hydras start popping them off, they may all just die. Zozo's army is, in the deep red, and all of a sudden they're all dying. And Phantombot barely holds on. Not for no expense, though, as it does lose a hatchery. However, it got the gold base up. It did lose a decent number of drones during that, too. Down to 67 against Zozo's 4 bases, 68. The Stalkers, though, still trading... Well, they're actually not trading that much worse, as it's actually resources lost down for Zozo still, but I think the Hydras will trade out better against these Protoss units, though. And the Prism can try and micro, but that's even at risk due to the Hydra high range, high damage. All these Protoss units are going on down, and this is what I'm talking about with Zozo. It's a good bot. It's very simple, but it's good at what it does. However, when the push doesn't work, it's in a lot of trouble. We do see a battery overcharge get popped. I'm not sure if that's the first one in the game. And then Zozo does actually dive on top of all those Zerg units, so a big overcommitment by the Zerg, and all of a sudden we're seeing the bot that overcommits is always on the back foot, and then the pendulum swings. We are seeing 2-1 upgrades being researched for Phantombot, so its Hydras will be getting much better if Phantombot survives that long. Zozo is coming back across for another push. What's the Hydra count right now? It's only 10. There's more being made. However, it's investing into a hive, a spire. That's not going to be enough if it just, dies in the next minute. That hive's not going to help out at all. Here we're seeing another trade. Stalkers against Immortals. It is a pretty good concave for the Stalkers, or Stalkers against Hydras with the one Immortal supporting. It's still, though, we just see how much better Hydras are than Stalkers without any blink or anything like that. And it's just, the Protoss needs to go for a different composition, as the trades will get worse and worse for Zozo. Then again, that whole Defender's pendulum swing could take place once more, as Phantombot's going to be attacking. That battery overcharge probably off cooldown. Yes, it is. So Zozo has got that. It's also got a great economy, making 8 Stalkers at a time, 1 Immortal as well, with a decent bank to its name. So if Zozo just turned all its money into units, it may be able to get a pretty big ball going. However, it's still being chased away. Stalkers can't fight the Hydras. The Hydras have got +2 attack now, so they're going to deal even more damage. The Stalker micro is a little bit silly, as some of them are just wandering way too far forward. The Prism is juggling these Stalkers, but the Hydras don't really have a big attack delay, so it's not like you can dodge their attacks. The one Immortal wanders forward, so we are seeing some big micro mistakes, and this is what I'm talking about with bots. Like, it's such a common thing that these bots, like, units do not have they just don't A-move when they'd get a lot more damage off. I don't know if that's just because of the games I click on or what, but like, just issuing one A-move to your bot would almost be better than what a lot of these bots do as far as unit movement. Of course, it's not that simple, but I do think there would be room for improvement with some of these bots if they did elect to make to have more delay with their movement. One of these days I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is and climb into a hole for 6 months and program a bot. Then it would still probably suck because I am not a programmer. I took 1 or 2 computer science classes in university. Now we have got Stalkers on the high ground for Zozo doing what they can, but we see how fast their shields get eaten through. And, oh, pardon me, pressing the space bar. I mean, it's an okay trade, as there's not that much Zerg stuff here. The Immortal dealing as much damage as it possibly can, up to 7 kills, but then it dies. And all of a sudden, the front collapses for Zozo once again. What a lot of back and forth between these two. Now, we are seeing Phantombot get some higher tech, though. We saw a Corruptor earlier that got shot down. We're now seeing a Broodlord on the way. And that's not an easy thing for non-blink Stalkers to deal with, particularly when there's a bunch of Hydras potentially underneath it. Zozo is also not expanding again. It may have a 4-base hard cap, which is understandable for a bot that just goes for one pushing strategy. Phantombot getting up a couple more bases, making lots more of these Hydras. It's got 2/2 upgrades. It's got +3 on the way now. Those Hydras are just like machine guns when they've got +3 attack, dealing so much damage. And it is just a smaller portion of the Zerg army for now on the front, so like Zozo's holding the line. We're now seeing the Broodlord get involved though. That is actually being targeted down by the Stalkers, so that will be forced back, and looks like it doesn't quite die. So those Broodlings will add their weight to the fight. The Prism picking up Stalkers that are attacked by the Broodlings. Still though, Zozo having a really tough time. The trades are just getting worse as the upgrades finish for the Zerg. It's got an okay bank, but it needs to be making more than 8 Stalkers at a time. If it had a couple extra gateways, maybe it would do better for itself. Maybe that would be an easy tweak to prevent situations like this, because it's got enough resources to build, I don't know, an extra 20 Stalkers. So if it did have those all of a sudden, or it maybe had a little bit of better unit pooling or something before it decides to attack, who knows? Probes are being pulled into the fight once again. That battery is drained. Stalkers are microing as well as they can, but the upgrades for the Zerg are just so darn good here. And yeah, Zozo starting to run out of steam. It's trying to hold the line. The Broodlings, though, free damage from this one very injured Broodlord. There's another Broodlord on the way, though, and I don't think it's going to get any better here for Zozo. It was a really interesting game, though, between these two. Thank you to the bot author who sent this in, as, yeah, Zozo is always a great test for bots to see their depth. Another battery overcharge, keeping a couple Stalkers alive. So if Zozo's not going down just yet, I mean, it's not mining from its freshest base, so it will eventually run out of money here. I mean, it's got a good concave. This one Broodlord, though, I guess the other one must have died or something. But now there's actually another one at the front. There's even a couple Ravagers being mixed in. More probes being pulled to the front lines once again. And when you're in your main base with Broodlord shooting at you, it's not very good. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, click that like button if you enjoyed this match. I've really been enjoying casting Phantombot games, so we may do another one of those soon. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like, comment, all that jazz. If you do want to support the channel financially, the best way is to become a YouTube member. There's a couple perks you can get with that. And it does go a long way. We see the battery overcharge, healing the gateways, so Zozo has got that behavior programmed in. Unfortunately, we cannot hold, says Zozo. GG.